Chapter 22. Sharpened cricket bats. If I do any more laps, mate, I'm going to have to charge you for orbits. In the back of a taxi, Thomas shushed the driver and told him to continue around the block again. It was night and dark, not an unusual combination, but trying to recall where Janice had alighted last time they were in one was proving difficult because of it. "Look," the driver said, "although I'm being paid for this, I've got a wife and child at home. I'd like to see them before both become pensioners." "It was here somewhere," said Thomas, peering into the night as though having lost something in it, which she had. "I just can't remember where." "Why don't you just ring her?" "Because I don't have her number." "Well, you're an idiot, mate. If you're this crazy about her, you should have carved it into your arm with your teeth." "Well, that wouldn't work." "What do you mean by that?" "Well, firstly, because my arm's already covered in scars, and secondly, because I don't have a phone." The taxi lurched in surprise. "What do you mean you don't have a phone? Everyone's got a phone." "Well, I don't." "Why the hell not?" Thomas shrugged. "I've got no one to call for a start, except my barrister, who'd charge me for answering." "No one to... What about this woman we've spent the past hour lapping?" "Well, she doesn't count." There was a rattling silence as both taxi and driver did their best to fathom this comment. "Is there any particular reason she doesn't count after we've driven around this block for the umpteenth time under the reasonable assumption that she does count to an almost astonishing degree?" Because she hates me." The taxi lurched to a stop. "All right, I've had enough of this," the driver said, turning to him. "Get out now." "Why?" "Because I'm beginning to feel the same way, and I do not want to be responsible for making her life any more miserable than you're currently making mine." "I don't think that's very nice," Thomas said, reaching for his wallet. When he retrieved it, a phone fell out. The driver looked at it, and then him. "I think I can see what she sees in you." Thomas picked it up. "It's not a working phone." "Of course it isn't." "No, seriously, look." He pressed at the buttons that did nothing. "It doesn't work, it's a prop. I use it to appear popular." "Mate, I am no longer interested." "No, but look." He pulled the back off to show it was devoid of any life-giving parts. The driver stared at him. "Why the fuck do you have a dysfunctional phone upon your person, unless it's because you've got masses in common?" Thomas shrugged and counted out a large amount of money he couldn't begin to afford. "I use it when I'm uncomfortable." "What?" "I use the phone when I feel uncomfortable." The driver turned back to the wheel and shook his head. "I don't even want to know." "I'm not weird or anything," said Thomas. "It's just I have it sometimes so I can pretend." "Pretend?" "Yes." "Pretend what? That you've got some friends?" "Well, yes, actually." The driver turned to him again. "What, are you serious?" Another shrug. "I take it out and talk into it if I feel people are looking at me." "Why the hell would people... Actually, forget I even asked." "It's great and it costs nothing," Thomas said. "Sometimes I use it on the bus to seem popular, particularly if a woman sits next to me." He paused. "Is it normal to feel flattered if a woman sits next to me?" "Oh, please pay and go away." "At other times, I pretend that I'm on my way to see my agent, who's begging me to hurry up because he's being swamped by fans." The driver turned to him again. "An agent? What are you, a celebrity or something?" "No." "But you have an agent?" No." The driver turned away and muttered something about his rapidly deteriorating quality of life. "Sometimes I'll just chat into it if there's a group of people I'm supposed to socialise with," Thomas continued. "It's a great way of avoiding eye contact while creating the illusion that I've got too many friends to bother making any new ones." "Why are you even telling me this?" "I don't know. Probably because I've had a bit to drink this evening. Very expensive it was too. French, I believe. Not that it matters. Did you know French is now the official language of microwave ovens?" "Listen, son, if you don't get out in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to be lapping you in a minute." "How much is it exactly?" Thomas asked, peering at the meter. "Not nearly enough." "Will this do?" He held up 3 crumpled notes of indeterminable denomination, 2 coins, and the lid of a ballpoint pen. The driver took them. "I don't care, provided you leave immediately." Thomas did, and the taxi drove away with the sort of enthusiasm he'd have been grateful for when lapping the block earlier. It was late, or early, Thomas wasn't certain which, but it didn't matter as much as seeing Janice and apologising before one of them died. He couldn't stand the thought of her being buried without knowing how much he regretted kicking her friend's bollocks. The night was wet and smelt of cold diesel fumes, and the moon hung in the sky as though wanting to get the whole thing over with. There was a hint of urine in the air, and he checked his trousers in case it was his. "Janice!" he yelled. Although an answer was unlikely, he hoped waking her neighbours might have them point him in the right direction to shut him up. "Janice!" The buildings were tall and monolithic, with that character of lean that foundation subsidence affords. Recognising one of them, he hurried to it. There was an intercom lit by the sort of bulb that had been going since the 70s. He pressed its buttons. When there was no answer, he pressed all of them repeatedly until curses crackled at him. "Hello," said Thomas. "I'm looking for Janice. Do you know her? Something very bad happened last night, and I have a feeling she might be dying. Certainly there's a funeral involved." "What the fuck? Who the fuck are you? Do you know anything about a funeral? Other than your pending one? No, I don't. Now fuck off." "Not mine, Janice's. Do you know what time it is?" "Well, does it matter?" "Yes, the fuck it does. It's 2 a.m. "Oh, that's great. She's probably home then." "Fuck off." "Can you let me in? I need to see Janice." "Oh, I couldn't give a fuck. Fuck off." "No, Janice, with a J." "Fuck off, with an F." There was silence for a moment until Thomas pressed buttons again. "Who the fuck is this?" another voice said. "Is he still here?" said the first. "Fuck! Well, who the fuck is it?" "I don't fucking know, but in about 30 seconds, the only thing he'll be pressing are fucking Davies fucking upwards." "Does he know what time it is?" "Fuck knows." "I do," said Thomas. "It's just gone 2. I'm surprised you don't remember telling me. Do you know Janice? I want to see Janice." "None of us give a fuck, you fuck. Now fuck off before I come down there and fuck you up." "Well, how about you let me in? We skip the fucking altogether." "Right." There was the sound of an angry door being slammed somewhere in the building and of a cricket bat being sharpened. When a large, tattooed man stormed down the stairs with it and launched himself at the door, Thomas waved. He continued waving up until he was hit with it, after which he flailed more than waved and bled intermittently. When he regained consciousness, it was with a sort of relieved surprise. Firstly, because there were no more cricket bats hitting him, and secondly, because he was in bed. There was a third reason too, but because Thomas was not used to having bosoms in his immediate vicinity, even as a child, it took some time to include them in any official capacity. When the nurse had finished adjusting whatever it was she needed to adjust, she smiled at him. "Well, hello," she said. She was young and slim and dressed in white and reminded Thomas of a tube of toothpaste which he had an urge to squeeze with the top off. He tried a smile, but it was awkward because his face was tight. "Try not to smile," she said. "You've just had your face sutured." To this he frowned, which was equally awkward. "Don't frown either," she said, scribbling on a clipboard. "Can I speak?" "It's best not to." "Because I've had my face sutured?" "Yes." He put a hand to his face tentatively and felt bandages. He pressed his jaw, relieved it didn't feel like pieces of a puzzle in a bag. "What happened?" he asked. The nurse put the clipboard down and took his wrist, which she then timed. "You've had a nasty knock," she said. "The doctor will be in shortly, and then the police." "The police?" "Yes, they brought you in last night." "Last night? What time is it now?" "It's just gone 7. "What, in the morning?" "Yes." Satisfied, she dropped his wrist and jotted things on the clipboard again. It was lovely to be in a bed free of urine, and even nicer to be fussed over by an attractive tube of toothpaste. "You remind me of a tube of toothpaste," he said. "Really?" She didn't look up from the clipboard. "Yes, I think it's the way you're quite narrow in the middle, as though you've been squeezed. It's very nice." The clipboard was replaced again. "Now, would you like some breakfast?" "What?" "Would you like some breakfast?" Thomas stared at her. You mean like breakfast in bed?" "Yes." "Goodness, I've never had breakfast in bed. Well, not intentionally. I mean, I found food in bed with me, but I imagine that doesn't really count." "No, a prerequisite is some sort of intentional plate involvement." Does the breakfast you refer to involve a plate intentionally? It does, yes. Well, then I'd like that, please. When she left, Thomas noticed other beds had patients stuffing themselves with breakfast. The man in the next bed slurped his to such a degree it suggested reasons as to why he'd been admitted in the first place. She returned with a plate covered with another one. There was a cup, too, which steamed invitingly. Both were placed on a tray that she swivelled across him. "Goodness," said Thomas, lifting the plate. "I've never seen a breakfast like this before. It seems quite wrong to eat it." The man in the next bed to him agreed, apparently when regurgitating his.